Have you ever felt that weird mix of relief, happiness, and a pure euphoria after finally yelling about something that had been bothering you for years? Because I have, and honestly, I never thought I would be that person. But after 3 years with the same orthodontic clinic, that's exactly what happened. Hi, I'm Lily, and this is the story of the worst orthodontic experience I have ever had. Grab your favorite snack because this is going to be a long story. And before we start, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I'm a pretty sensitive person. I tend to see the good in people and give them more chances than they probably deserve. I also hate confrontation. Usually, when someone keeps bothering me, I just leave it quietly. But it's difficult when you are paying for a treatment that takes years to finish. You keep telling yourself, maybe the next appointment will be better. Well, it all started back in 2022. My father and I were looking for an orthodontic clinic, and one of his friends recommended a place because his son was being treated there. And let's be honest, dad's friend's recommendations always sound trustworthy. So we booked an appointment and went. When we arrived, there were more than 10 people waiting. My father immediately went to the receptionist and asked why there were so many people if we had an appointment. They told him not to worry, those people are here for the women's clinic. Then they took us directly to the orthodontist. Well, that was the first lie. You will understand later. We met the doctor. He looked at my teeth for less than 10 seconds. Then he said, "Okay, we will put the braces on next appointment." Then came the price. The treatment was about $500 cheaper than every other clinic we visited. And at that moment, I understood exactly why my father's friend has recommended this clinic. But don't worry, guys. I ended up paying that difference twice later anyway. A week later, I came back to get my braces. I was excited. My brother came with me. He looked around and was surprised by how many people were waiting. I was about to explain that they were all here for the women's clinic. Then I noticed half of them were men, so the first lie wasn't looking too good anymore. The doctor was late. We waited. Eventually he came and asked me, "So what are we doing today?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what are we doing today? You don't even remember me?" Anyway, he placed the braces on my upper teeth and told me he would place the lower braces 2 months later. And guess what? Yeah, that was the third lie. I went home excited. I kept smiling at the mirror every 5 minutes. Then I looked again. Half of my brackets had fallen off. We called the clinic and they told me to come back immediately. The doctor fixed them and sent me home. And that was only the beginning. A few appointments later, I found myself sitting in a SpongeBob themed pediatric chair. A pediatric chair for orthodontic treatment. Don't worry though. A few appointments later, I saw an old man sitting in the exact same chair. In fact, I don't think I ever saw a single child there. The doctor wasn't just an orthodontist. He was doing everything. Crowns, fillings, veneers. Basically, if there was a way to make money from teeth, he was doing it. After an appointment, I looked in the mirror and noticed something strange. Half of my brackets were gray, while the other half were red. Then I realized what happened. The gray ones were from the past appointment. The red ones were the new he just didn't continue. 6 months passed like this. An appointment every 2 weeks. Then something interesting happened. A new orthodontist joined the clinic. And honestly, for the first time, things started improving. She was organized, friendly, and actually seemed interested in her patients. One day, I asked her about my lower braces. Remember when the doctor said he would place them after 2 months? 1 year had already passed. She laughed and said, "I think he forgot." And honestly, that sounded completely believable. She finally placed them. We would talk during appointments, and for the first time, I felt optimistic. Unfortunately, she left the clinic after about a year and a half, and I was back with the original doctor. Now, let's talk about the final year, because that's when everything got worse. Every time I asked how much longer my treatment would take, the answer was always the same: 6 more months. No matter when I asked, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. There were so many red flags. One of the biggest ones was that he was a heavy smoker. And when I say heavy smoker, I mean heavy smoker. Between appointments, he would disappear into a small room, spend some time smoking, and then come back to continue working. The problem wasn't just the smoking itself, it was the fact that he would come back immediately afterward. No effort to hide the smell, no mouthwash, no mask. And then he would lean over patients and continue working inside their mouths. Every time he came back, the smell would arrive before he did. One day I arrived for my appointment and ended up being treated by a general dentist instead of my orthodontist. I waited nearly an hour, spent more than an hour in the chair, and afterward I found out that he had only graduated recently. Nobody had even informed me before. I went to the receptionist and asked where my orthodontist was. She asked me to wait him. Meanwhile, the orthodontist kept arriving late, sometimes more than an hour late. Sometimes they couldn't even reach him by phone. Month after month, my frustration kept building. Then came my final visit. I waited and waited and waited. The doctor never showed up. The receptionist kept telling me that he was on his way. After more than an hour, I finally lost my temper. For the first time in 3 years, I raised my voice. I told them exactly how unprofessional the entire clinic had become. Then I walked out. The moment I got outside, I started crying. Not because of that day, but because of everything that had happened during those 3 years. It's been about a year since I left, and honestly, leaving was one of the best decisions I made. The biggest lesson I learned is simple: don't ignore red flags. Ask questions, pay attention, and don't stay somewhere just because you've already invested years into it. Sometimes walking away is the right decision. As for me, I'm finally close to finish my treatment, and things are going much better now. So maybe this story had a good ending after all. Thank you for listening to my very long orthodontic adventure, and I'll see you in the next video inshallah. Bye!